the ISA-1 Digital, the classic Focusrite mic pre, and simultaneous DI. Now with class-leading stereo ADC as standard.
We're here in Nashville at the NAMM show, and next to me is Dan, who's going to explain how you can cram IK Multimedia's Amplitube or something very similar into an iPhone. And how do you get it in there?
Well, actually, this has been coded totally from the ground up, specifically for the iPhone OS. So after we finished Amplitube 3, we really started this project, and we had to do all of the DSP totally custom, all of the programming totally custom. We even wound up having to write a lot of it in assembly, because when you get into the application, you'll see that we have a lot running here. We've really kind of maxed out the processing capabilities of the platform in the service of the best possible tone and some really cool features.
Okay, now to get the guitar signal into there, of course, you can't just plug straight into the phone, so you have iRig.
We do. We have the iRig interface adapter. It's a very simple device. It's 1/4 inch for your guitar. There's an 1/8 inch headphone out, and then it plugs into the iPhone jack, which is a combined input and output. It's a TRRS jack. Now this actually had kind of its own technical issues to overcome. Of course, there's impedance matching. It's expecting a mic level input, and we're giving it a high Z. But aside from that, because it's sharing a jack, there's quite a bit of crosstalk between the input and the output, which is fine for the phone. But when you start adding, 10, 20, 30 dB of gain, there were a lot of potential issues there. So this device and also the software, we had to do a lot of extra engineering and extra programming to make sure that we were getting that signal in there with the lowest possible noise, with the best possible sound quality. So it is extremely affordable. It's only $39.99, but that doesn't mean that it's not very well engineered.
So you get the basic software for the $39 or the $39.99, but if you want the full version, you have to pay a premium for that.
Well, there are 3 versions in the App Store. Obviously, we're not able to include a version with the device. All those apps have to come through the iTunes Store. There is a free version that includes 1 amp, 2 pedals, 2 microphones, and all of the basic feature set. From there, there's also an LE version, which is $2.99, and it comes with a few more pedals. But in both of those versions, there's also a la carte purchase. So if you don't want every piece of gear, if you just want a specific set of gear, you can go in and buy those for $2.99 and piece together your custom rig. If you bought everything through the custom shop, that would be about $40. So there is a full version available for $20, where you get all the gear and you save 50%.
So how close is this in terms of performance and flexibility to the full version of Amplitube that runs on the computer?
Well, it's not really fair to compare the two. You're talking about a modern processor versus, in the case of the iPhone, I think the 3GS is an 866 megahertz with a phone running in the background. So it's really apples and oranges. But what you are able to do is we give you, just like in Amplitube, there's a tuner and a metronome. There's a pedal board. So you can see here, first the tuner and the metronome. There's a pedal board. You can use 3 effects at the same time, and there's 11 to choose from. So the same basic idea as Amplitube. Amplitube, you get 10 stomp box effects. Here you get 3. Then there's a mic. There is an amplifier. There's the same as an Amplitube. You have the actual head of the cabinet, the head of the amplifier itself. Sorry, you get the cabinet, which you can switch between the ones included, and then you get 2 microphones. So a nice model of a dynamic and a nice model of a condenser. Okay. So the same basic workflow, the same basic idea, but obviously you can't do component modeling. You can't really go crazy with dual rigs and stuff like an Amplitube. In Amplitube 3, there's almost 200 pieces of gear to choose from, and you can use like 32 at a time, not counting some of the extra mics and stuff.
But it's a very similar operational paradigm. Yep.
It's the same idea, just made portable. The idea is not that this is in any way going to replace Amplitube or even really your guitar amp, but just it's a great little portable solution. The final thing that rounds it out is there's actually, if you're on the road, you can load in from your computer MP3s or AAC files, and you can play along. So you can actually even set loop points so that you can practice a phrase over and over. So think of this as more of just a completely standalone practice studio, but with the features and the tone where you can actually do, a simple gig or a side gig. Maybe, you wouldn't go on TV with this, but it's still a great little opportunity. Like you said, a great backup rig.
Yeah, so if your amp goes down at a gig, you plug this into the PA and keep going.
Well, actually, we're here in Nashville, and we've been talking to several session musicians. And one of the things that they've been mentioning is that here in Nashville, you do a lot of one-off performances. Like if an artist is pitching a song to a record label, you have to go to the record label, you have to set everything up, you play your one song, you take everything down, and you go. So probably half an hour of setup time for a 5-minute song. And so we've actually had 2 or 3 different guys say, you know what, I have a gig, just a one-song gig coming up next week. I just want to bring this because it would make my life so much easier. And it's in a situation where probably you're not living and dying on your guitar tone, but it's still perfectly convincing, sounds great, everything that they need, and it's all in their pocket.
Well, thanks for that, Dan. Let's hear a few examples.
Sounds good, sure. So just to give you a quick tour of some of the amps that are included in here, the Clean is actually based on a Fender. Aside from just the typical controls, we also really wanted to make sure to include that great Fender tremolo sound. The Crunch amp is actually based on a Vox AC30. Volume up a little bit. Now you see you can actually access the rest of the parameters by scrolling your finger across the screen. Just pull in some reverb. For a little bit more aggressive, the lead amp is actually based on a Marshall JCM 800. So again, let me push the distortion up here. And on each of these mics, I can use 2 different microphones. So there's the very familiar dynamic and also a very familiar condenser. And I can also swap the cabinets. And then the final one would be the final guitar amp is based on a Mesa Boogie triple rectifier. And again, I have all the controls that I would normally have. And then for the bass player, we've also included a nice BA 500 from Ampeg, a model based on that. Again, these speakers don't have the greatest low frequency extension, so I apologize. And then in terms of effects, there's quite the selection. Obviously, the overdrive is a familiar face and a great option. There's a very cool little wah pedal. The wah is actually touch operated. Although most of the time you'll need 2 hands, so we also did include an auto wah feature. There's also a great little envelope filter included. Some classic chorus pedals. And then a flanger as well.
So thanks very much, Dan. If you already have an iPhone, this looks like a real bargain. You know, it's not like a lot of money, so
no, it's very affordable
and a lot of fun too.
It's actually a lot of fun. We've had a great amount of fun just working with it ourselves, and now being at the show and letting people see it. The response has been tremendous, and we're really excited about this product.
Well, thanks for taking us through it.
Well, thanks for coming by the booth.